Episode 1. The Secret Life. The evening sun cast a golden glow through the windows of the Adeyemi family's living room. Michael sat comfortably on the sofa beside his wife, Grace, while their teenage daughter focused on her homework nearby. The room was filled with warmth. Family photographs decorated the walls, capturing birthdays, holidays, and happy memories. Grace smiled as Michael joked with their daughter. Looking at them, anyone would have believed they were the perfect family. And that was exactly what Michael wanted everyone to think. Later that night, Michael kissed Grace goodbye and told her he had an important business meeting. "Don't wait up for me," he said. Grace nodded with a trusting smile, but Michael wasn't heading to a meeting. Across town, he arrived at a luxurious apartment where Vanessa was waiting. He stepped inside carrying shopping bags filled with expensive gifts. Vanessa greeted him with excitement and wrapped her arms around him. The apartment was modern and elegant, a world completely different from the modest family home he had just left. Soon they were sitting together on a plush couch, laughing and enjoying each other's company as city lights sparkled through the large windows. Meanwhile, Grace's alarm rang before sunrise. While most people were still asleep, she was already in the kitchen preparing breakfast. She packed lunch for her daughter, washed dishes left from the previous night, folded laundry, and made sure everything in the house was in order. The work never seemed to end. Though she was tired, she never complained. She believed she was building a happy home for the people she loved. Days turned into weeks. Then one afternoon, while shopping at the local market, Grace overheard two women whispering nearby. "That's Michael's wife," one woman said quietly. The other shook her head. "I feel sorry for her. Everyone knows he's always with another woman." Grace froze. Her stomach tightened. Surely they were mistaken. Michael loved his family. At least, that was what she wanted to believe. That evening, she finally gathered enough courage to ask him. "Michael," she said carefully, "people are saying things about you. They say you've been spending time with another woman." Michael's face hardened immediately. "What kind of gossip is that?" he replied. "You know how people talk. Are you really going to believe strangers instead of your husband?" Grace looked into his eyes. She wanted answers. Instead, she found confidence. Michael denied everything, and because she loved him, she chose to believe him. A few weeks later, their daughter's graduation day arrived. The school hall was packed with proud parents and excited students dressed in graduation gowns. Grace and her daughter took their seats and saved a chair for Michael. "He'll be here soon," Grace assured her daughter. Minutes passed, then hours. The ceremony began. The chair remained empty. Their daughter tried to hide her disappointment as she walked across the stage to receive her certificate. Grace clapped proudly, but her heart was breaking. At that very moment, Michael was nowhere near the graduation ceremony. Instead, he sat inside an upscale restaurant with Vanessa. They laughed over an expensive meal, took photographs together, and enjoyed the evening without a care in the world. Michael never once mentioned the graduation he had missed. By the time Grace and her daughter returned home, the excitement of the day had disappeared. Flowers and graduation certificates rested quietly on the table. The house felt unusually silent. Grace sat alone in the living room holding her phone. Michael's excuses echoed in her mind. Business meetings, traffic, unexpected delays. For the first time, they no longer made sense. A tear rolled down her cheek. Deep inside, she knew something had changed. The trust she had given so freely was beginning to crack. And although she did not yet know the full truth, Grace could feel that her husband's secret life was slowly coming into the light. To be continued.
Episode 2. The Warning. He ignored Michael, thought he had everything under control. One afternoon, while working in his office, a sharp pain suddenly shot through his chest. He gripped the edge of his desk and struggled to breathe. Sweat formed on his forehead as fear briefly filled his eyes. But after a few moments, he straightened himself, wiped away the sweat, and continued working as if nothing had happened. That evening, Grace noticed that something was wrong. Michael looked exhausted and unusually quiet. Concerned, she gently placed her hand on his shoulder and urged him to get some rest. Despite all the pain he had caused her, Grace still cared deeply for her husband, but Michael simply smiled and brushed off her concerns. "It's nothing," he assured her. Unfortunately, it wasn't nothing. Instead of focusing on his health or his family, Michael continued seeing Vanessa. Even as his body showed signs of weakness, he refused to change his ways. During one of their meetings, Vanessa noticed that he seemed tired and uncomfortable, but Michael quickly hid his pain. He was determined to keep living life on his own terms. A few days later, Michael visited his elderly mother. The old woman looked at her son with sadness in her eyes. She warned him that he was hurting his wife and destroying his family. She pleaded with him to change before it was too late. But Michael's pride wouldn't allow him to listen. He believed he still had plenty of time. As he walked away, he laughed off his mother's warning. To him, the future seemed far away, and consequences seemed impossible. What Michael didn't realize was that time was slowly running out. Over the following weeks, his condition grew worse. The chest pains became more frequent. He struggled to climb stairs. He rubbed his chest during important meetings. Even while driving, exhaustion began to overwhelm him. Each day, his body sent him a warning. Each day, he ignored it. And with every warning he ignored, Michael moved one step closer to a tragedy that would change everything. To be continued. On a stormy night in Lagos, Michael secretly visits Vanessa's apartment. While they are talking, Michael suddenly suffers a severe chest attack and collapses. Vanessa desperately calls for help, but despite her efforts, Michael dies in her arms before emergency services arrive. The next morning, Michael's family is devastated by the news of his death. Their shock deepens when they discover that he died in another woman's apartment, creating feelings of grief, anger, and betrayal. Grace, Michael's wife, receives the heartbreaking phone call and struggles to process the loss. Later, while looking at an old family photograph, she mourns the man who betrayed her, but was still the father of her children. As she reflects on their shared memories, she realizes that the pain of losing him is far more complicated than she ever imagined. Kindly follow, like, and comment for more.